what is your favorite Rush album? Coming up, I'm going to rank my favorite Rush albums, the top 19 studio albums by Canadian rockers Rush. Coming up next on Music Meanderings.
Well, prepare to be Rushified!
Stretching from their debut in 1974 all the way to their finale studio album released in June of 2012, I'm going to rank the 19 Rush albums in order of my favorites from least favorite to favorite. I don't have a Rush album I don't like. So we'll start with least favorite and work our way towards my favorite Rush album. In the least favorite position, I'm going to have to go with 1987's Hold Your Fire. Even though it had the big hit single featuring Amy Mann, remember that video, and Time Stand Still, still probably my least favorite Rush album and the one that gets the fewest spins. In at number 18, a great album, but just not one I find myself listening to all that much. In fact, I saw them on this tour. Snakes and Arrows from 2007 is number 18 on my list of Rush albums. Coming in at number 17, 1991's Roll the Bones. This could have ranked higher on another day, perhaps, but today I've got it in at number 17. Now, it's the album that, of course, has that title track, Roll the Bones, with kind of the weird rap in it. If you ever wondered who did the rap, well, they thought of several different people to fill in that rap, including Robbie Robertson, of all people. But when it came down to it, Geddy Lee ended up doing the rap in the Roll the Bones song, and they just kind of slowed his voice down and put lots of effects on it. So in at number 17, Roll the Bones. Going through the top 19 Rush albums. They have 19 to their credit, stretching from 1974 to 2012. What are your favorite Rush albums? You can rank all 19. Maybe just give me your top 5 in the comments down below there. And be sure to subscribe to the Music Meanderings channel. We've worked our way down to number 16. Again, saw them on this tour as well. It was the one with the big inflatable rabbits, if you saw them on this tour. Of course, talking about the 1989 album Presto by the band. Definitely had that 80s kind of Rush sound to it, and lots of great tracks on this one, including ones they still play in concert, like The Pass and Show Don't Tell and Superconductor. So in at number 16, Presto. Working our way through Rush's 19 studio albums. We're not even getting into the live records here. They probably have just about as many live records as they do studio albums. Maybe we'll do that on another day. But today we're going through Rush's 19 studio albums, and we're up to number 15, another one from the 90s, and that is 1996's Test for Echo. This one kind of split among Rush fans. A lot of Rush fans might even put this lower on the list as their least favorite. Test for Echo. Half the World, Time and Motion, the kind of goofy Dog Years song, all on this album, 1996's Test for Echo. Looking at Rush's 19 studio albums released between 1974 and 2012. And I'm down to number 14, probably my least favorite of the first 3 studio records, though. Again, I love all these albums, so it's hard to rank any of them low, but Caress of Steel, 1975. About this time, they were opening for bands like Blue Oyster Cult and Kiss. Label Mercury Records would have probably dropped Rush at that point, but of course we know what happened there. But Caress of Steel from 1975, I have that on number 14 on my list. Number 13 album on my list of Rush albums, going through all the studio albums. Again, really tough to put these in any kind of order, but I'm going to go with Signals. Their 1982 album coming in at number 13. Never been one that I play a whole lot, although there are lots of great songs on Signals. I do like the album cover and the whole concept there. Has the big hit Subdivisions, The Analog Kid, New World Man, Countdown, The Weapon. Just so many great songs. Chemistry is on there. I might have to rank that higher next time. A good album, but I've got it at number 13, Signals from 1982. Well, for the number 12 album, let me see. I'm going to go with Vapor Trails out of 2002. Again, not a bad album. None of these are bad albums, and you can go ahead and give me your list of your top 5, or go ahead and give me all your top 19 list of Rush albums and how you would order them. But I have Vapor Trails down at number 12 on my list. Okay, released in May of 2002, and just a great concept, great album. I really love the cover. The production was very muddy, and they went back and they remastered it and came out with a much better sounding version of it. But it has the great song, One Little Victory. That was the single that came off of it. Of course, Ghost Riders on there, Vapor Trail, Secret Touch, Earth Shine, which made it into a lot of their set list. So I have that down for number 12 out of 2002, Vapor Trails. As a big Rush fan, I'm having some fun going through the 19 studio albums by Rush and trying to list them in some kind of order, starting from least favorite and going down to my favorite Rush album. I found that very difficult to do, but in at number 11, a lot of people called this a return to form, because some of their albums just before this barely had a guitar solo on it. The keyboards had taken over and there was very little of Alex Lifeson's guitar. Well, this album changed all that. Talking about Counterparts, their 15th studio album, came out in 1993 by Rush. I have that down as my 11th favorite album. Had Animate, Stick It Out, Cut to the Chase, Nobody's Hero, Cold Fire. Just a rocker. If you're looking for a place to start with Rush, as far as a really rockin' album, and something, say, from their 90s output, a good place to start would be Counterparts. All right, we made it down to the top 10 now, looking at the Rush studio albums, all 19 of them, again released between 1974 and 2012. Not a bad one in the bunch, and really hard to rank. Go ahead and rank yours. What are your top Rush albums? You can put those in the comments below. We are into the top 10. 1975, Fly By Night. Again, part of that trio of studio albums they came out with. This was their second studio album, and the first one to feature, of course, drummer Neil Peart. And they took a new direction on this one lyrically, and actually had By-Tor and the Snow Dog, great epic song that they played in concert up to their last shows. anthem is on this one. Of course, the hit Fly By Night. Great album from 1975. Number 10 on my list, Rush and Fly By Night. We're going to go back to the 80s for my pick. Number 9 on my list of top Rush albums, going down their 19 studio releases. One of my favorites. When this came out, I just pretty much wore out the cassette of this one, Power Windows. Such a great, iconic Rush album. The Big Money, Manhattan Project, Marathon, Grand Design, Territories, Middletown Dreams. This whole album has such a feel about it. In fact, I think, yeah, I do. I actually have my cassette copy right here. Power Windows, 1985. Number 9 on my list of Rush albums. Number 8, and really, this could be much higher, is their last one. Came out in 2012. Clockwork Angels. And I wish I would have seen them on this tour. I did not get to see them on this time around, but Clockwork Angels actually was part of a book. You could get the book that was co-written by Neil Peart, which was a science fiction tale. And I had the album first, and then I went and got the book. It's a great read, by the way, pretty short book if you like science fiction. And it really gives a whole new meaning to the songs that are featured on Clockwork Angels, because Clockwork Angels just follows that book, song by song. Caravan, Clockwork Angels, The Anarchist, 7 Cities of Gold, The Wreckers, the one that got the radio play, Headlong Flight. That is a great song. Again, written by Neil Peart, and I would strongly recommend the book that goes along with this one. You can still find it easy to pick up, Clockwork Angels. What are your favorite Rush albums? Go ahead and rank them in the comments below. I'm going through my least favorite to my favorite Rush albums, the 19 studio records released between 1974 and 2012. And let me see, we are down to number 7, and I'm going to go with the first Rush album. Great, iconic cover there. Rush, the first record, Finding My Way, Need Some Love, Take a Friend, Here Again, What You're Doing, In the Mood, Before and After, and of course, Working Man, the song that pretty much started it all for Rush. As the PD for WMMS in Cleveland, perhaps you know this story, she was looking for what they call in the radio business a bathroom song. In other words, a song that was longer that would give the DJs a break, because back then you didn't have automation. If you had to take a bathroom break, you had to put on a long song. So that was one she found, Working Man. And then after she played it, the phones just lit up, and she found out that it really appealed to the working class of Cleveland. So that's where it all started for Rush. 1974's debut album, in at number 7. Well, next on my list, this holds a special place in my heart, because the first time I saw Rush live was in 1980 on this tour. Yes, it's Permanent Waves from 1980, in at number 6 with The Spirit of Radio, Jacob's Ladder, also Natural Science. A nice mixture of shorter compositions, which they were trying to do at the time, and also still some of the epic longer songs as well. At this point, Rush had pretty much earned the right to do what they wanted to do. They no longer had to worry about the record label pulling their deal back. So they just pretty much did what they wanted to. Fantastic album, Permanent Waves from 1980, number 6 on my list. I would imagine this next one would probably be Number one on a lot of people's list. Definitely one of their best-selling albums. Yeah, you guessed it. It's Rush, Moving Pictures from 1981. Their follow-up to my previous one on the list, 1980s, Permanent Waves. The band just hitting on all cylinders on this one. Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, YYZ, The Great Limelight, and just a fantastic album. Not a bad song on it, and some days it might rank higher. Today I have it in at number 5. Might be your number 1. Let me know. Moving Pictures from 1981. As we move on, and this another one that I initially had on cassette, later was able to pick it up on vinyl. 1977 and A Farewell to Kings. What a fantastic album. Again, a nice mixture of epic songs and kind of shorter songs, but it's all Rush for sure. A Farewell to Kings, of course, Xanadu. Perhaps their biggest hit, Closer to the Heart, is on this one, along with Cygnus X1. 1977, Rush and A Farewell to Kings in at number 4. We're counting down the top 19 albums by Rush. All great albums. You can't lose with any of these. And it was really hard to rank them from least favorite to favorite, but that's what I've attempted to do. And now we've got the top 3. And in at number 3, let me see. I think I have a cassette copy of this as well. I do. Yep, it is Grace Under Pressure. Grace Under Pressure. Number 3 on my list of top Rush albums. And talk about an album that just has a feel. It kind of takes you back, if you were alive in that time, takes you back to those Cold War days. With songs like Distant Early Warning, Red Sector A, Red Lenses, The Enemy Within. Just a great, great Cold War album with a real mood about it. I've got it in number 3, Grace Under Pressure. Counting down my least favorite to favorite Rush albums from their 19 studio albums released between 1974 and 2012. And we are into the top 2. Again, this album I'm sure will be number 1 for many Rush fans. It was hard to place it at number 2, and that is 2112. 2112, as I was telling you earlier, you probably know the story, but Rush, after Caress of Steel, was under pressure by Mercury Records to present them with a single. You know, they wanted something that would get radio airplay, and Rush stuck true to what they did and just decided to put it all on the line. They wanted to play this kind of music, and they were going to do it whether the record label wanted it or not. And that is what they did with 2112. Of course, I love this era with the kimonos, the robes they would wear out on stage. In fact, UFO at this point was opening for them on a lot of shows. And funny story, the guys with UFO would kind of make fun of them since they had robes on. They would put like slippers under their microphones when they came out, so they would have slippers to go with their robes. But Rush, 2112. You know it if you're a Rush fan. You might have it as your number 1 album, but I do not. This is my number 1 Rush album. Out of the 19 studio albums, I'm going to place Hemispheres. Hemispheres at number 1. Released in October of 1978. And the band really pushed themselves on this one. They really tried to do the long form composition. And Alex Lifeson says at this point, they were trying to write stuff that was so difficult that they had a tough time playing it. Like Cygnus X1. Book 2, Circumstances. The Trees, classic. And La Villa Strangado. So Hemispheres. That's my number one favorite Rush album. What about you? What are your favorites? Go ahead and comment below, and please subscribe to Music Meanderings.